The reason there is no slavery in the world today, I mean, there's a lot of slavery in the world today, but in the parts of the world where there's no slavery, is because the British Empire ended it. That's why there is no slavery. That is...
So,
well,
that's going to prompt
look, the fact that you are uneducated about history doesn't mean it's funny. So let me educate you now. Let me educate you now. Let me educate you now. I know that the woke narrative and the anti-Western narrative on slavery... Oh, you're not practicing free speech very well, are you? You're not practicing free speech very well, are you? The moment I say something you don't like, you're not practicing free speech very well, are you, sir?
Let's be clear. Slavery is evil, but it's an ancient human evil practiced by everyone to everyone. 4 years ago, I went to Ghana. I stood in a slave dungeon where people who looked like me sold people who looked like me to white people.
What's up, YouTube? Hope you guys are feeling good. Today, guys, we're back again with a new video, guys. Today, we're going to be checking out white people did not invent slavery. I love this. I would love to check a video out with you guys. Let's get right into this video.
White people didn't invent slavery. In fact, they were the first to end it.
True.
Yet somehow, saying this is controversial. Watch what happens when someone says it out loud.
The reason there is no slavery in the world today, I mean, there's a lot of slavery in the world today, but in the parts of the world where there's no slavery, is because the British Empire ended it. That's why there is no slavery. That is...
So,
well,
that's going to prompt
look, the fact that you are uneducated about history doesn't mean it's funny. So let me educate you now. Let me educate you now. Let me educate you now. I know that the woke narrative and the anti-Western narrative on slavery... Oh, you're not practicing free speech very well, are you? You're not practicing free speech very well, are you? The moment I say something you don't like, you're not practicing free speech very well, are you, sir?
Let's be clear. Slavery is evil, but it's an ancient human evil practiced by everyone to everyone.
True.
4 years ago, I went to Ghana. I stood in a slave dungeon where people who looked like me sold people who looked like me to white people. But long before Europeans began the transatlantic slave trade, there was a trans-Saharan slave trade. For over 1,000 years, brown Arab slavers sold millions of black Africans across the Sahara. Then came the Barbary slave trade. In North Africa, Arab and African raiders captured and sold over 1 million white Christian Europeans. China, Korea, Japan, India, every one of them practiced slavery. Europeans did take slavery to another scale when they came to Africa. But it's not because they were more evil, it's because they had the technology to commit evil on an industrial scale. So, which major power stopped slavery first? The British, in large part because of pro-human Christian values. The same values America was founded on. The same values that drove white Americans to fight other white Americans to free black Americans in the Civil War. Values missing in places like Libya, where today you can buy a human being for $400. White people aren't better than anyone else, but they're also not worse. Yet, some black people are taught to hate white people, and many white people are taught to hate themselves. We keep pretending evil has a color. As if less melanin means less morality. That lie makes us ignore history.
True.
And fuels racial hatred. Right now, much of that hatred is aimed at white people. But why should black or brown people care? Because hatred is a hot coal that we hold in our hand, waiting to throw at another. It burns them, but it burns us too. It turns every problem into white supremacy while defending black degeneracy. And when the pendulum swings back, white people react with hostility, and then they defend white degeneracy. The only way out of this is to stop making morality about the color of people. Because in our capacity for good and evil, we are all equals. If you're tired of lies about history, subscribe to my Substack. I cover the stories the mainstream media won't touch. I cut through media bias and teach you how to do it too. The link is in my bio, so drop your email and get exclusive videos I can't post anywhere else. Approximately when did slavery start?
Oh, a long time ago. I would say like 1200, 1300 around.
What civilization first started it? Like what people first started it?
I think it was a European country.
Yeah, very
When did
ignorant.
slavery start?
Around 1700,
Okay. So 1700, and where did it start?
like in California.
Chattel slavery?
California.
Chattel slavery.
Yeah, I think the 1600s.
What was the first civilization to start practicing chattel slavery?
I have no idea. I guess the United States?
I'm at UCLA
And these
to
are college
ask
students, guys.
students
These are college
about their
students.
knowledge of the history of slavery. And the reason I'm doing this is because I have a hypothesis that people have a very selective understanding of the history of slavery and the West's role in it. So approximately when did slavery start?
I feel like it started ever since people came to be. People have always wanted to separate other people for power and domination. I feel like that has been like here since forever.
Should I thought she's right?
Same.
You're so right.
Easy,
I'm very
easy,
impressed.
very
Yes,
students.
that it goes back at least as early as 9000 BC. When the European settlers went to Africa and they captured slaves, how did they do that?
Probably forceful, brought them over on boats back to the North American continent, the European continent.
Actually, yeah, I don't like the specifics, but I assume violently. That's my only thing.
An institution was already somewhat present there, and then they just kind of took over that as an institution, being the dominant power, being that they had guns and whatnot.
That's a good. I never thought about that. I don't know. I mean, I would say it was by force.
I think they were already caught and sold by other people in Africa.
You're correct. Europeans actually couldn't really survive in Africa because it was a completely different environment, malaria, all this stuff would kill them. So they actually bought them from other Africans. So African tribes were fighting African tribes, and then they would sell the slaves. So you didn't know that, right?
I did not know that yet.
You're aware that it goes back pretty far. Were you aware that pretty much like every civilization practiced it? And
I guess since it was a global thing, it was somewhat culturally accepted across different countries and geographic locations. So if we lived at that timeline, it was like, oh, it's just part of life, you know? But now it's obviously like, what are we doing, you know?
That's really perceptive. You're the first person to acknowledge that. Yeah, if we lived at that time, it was very normal, right? There, but for the grace of God go I. How do I know I wouldn't have been participating in it? Do you know which civilization was the first to lead the abolition movement?
I don't.
Ooh. I mean, as a Native American, I feel like, the Tainos.
I don't know who. I think it was when. She forgot. Never mind.
It's all good. Yeah. You're thinking about it, though, and that's what we want people to think about it. Yeah, so it was actually the British Empire started the abolition movement. Back then, they were very powerful. They controlled about a quarter of the planet. Not only did they end it in the British Empire, they forced other empires to end it, too. Hi. Awesome. What's your name?
Kyla.
Nice to meet you, Kyla. Everyone practiced it, is what you're essentially saying. Do you think most people recognize that everyone practiced it?
I don't think so. I think a lot of people fail to realize that a lot of people were doing it just like as a basic income of thing, whether we learned it from Europeans or we just learned it because it was easy. I think it's good enough to just say that like everyone was doing it, and we also can just learn instead of like, I know as a black female, it's just kind of like we want to save our identity, but it's kind of we also have to know what we did too, instead of just being like, oh, we deserve everything, which we do, but kind of just understand both front forward kind of spaces.
If people realize that every skin color practiced slavery against pretty much every other skin color, and that the British Empire were the first to really end it, do you think that would help race relations or hurt it?
It could possibly help. I feel like if people understood that everyone for years have been just practicing slavery, where it's modernized or not, I feel like we can like have some sense of ground that we are sometimes our own bullies or are our own kind of like just haters sometimes. So it's kind of like, I feel like it could help for people to take a look in and be like, oh, we are, we've done stuff too. We all just can't play victim and be like, we deserve everything, but just kind of take a step back. So it could help.
You are so wise. Thank you for your time. That was amazing. You did great.
If more people knew more history, we would just have a more educated society. History informs you a lot about cause and effect. So if you can see like what different causes do to different people, that's really important for like voting or making decisions in your day-to-day life too. I think it's really important, and also to decrease hate, I think, of a lot of people, especially Western history, because I think people hate a lot without the substantial facts.
Whenever you tell people that British and USA helped end slavery, they tend to come at you and said, and that's a lie. They didn't help to end slavery. They started it. They didn't start shit. Slavery started a long time ago. Every single person raised in the entire world engaged or participated in slavery. Every single one of us. So it's not a now thing. It's something that has been there even before Christ. So it's crazy how people tend to say the British people started slavery. The American people started slavery. They don't read the history book. That's why they have to say that bullshit crap. They don't read the history book. And hearing college students open their mouths and say that, I'll be like, is college making them smarter or dumber? Because you also have noticed by now, like you being in college, you ought to be smarter. You ought to know your history, at least. Because slavery itself is a long time game. Roman Empire owned slaves. It is a long time game. And I don't like when black people tend to play this race card every time and blame the whites every single time. That they took them from their country and brought them to where? To America, to Britain, and their forefathers. They took them from their hometown and brought them to America, also to the European countries, and made them slave and stuff like that. It took them time before they started getting themselves back. Bro, if you know that happened to you in history and you are pissed off on white people about that, we are in what? We're in what century? It's obvious. It's for you to just go back to Africa back. If you feel like they took you from your hometown and you are pissed and you're angry, they took your great-great-grandfather from your hometown and they made a slave and they did horrible things to them, and what they did is bad, that the white people are racist, and just go back to your hometown. Go back. But you see a lot of these people who tend to play this race card every time and say they treat them badly and stuff like that. They are looking for reparation. Every single one of them don't want to go back to their hometown, to their original roots. They never want to go back there. Because why? They love where they're staying. I'm not saying what the Britain people did is good. I'm not saying what American did is good by owning slaves and taking them from their hometown. I'm not saying it's good. It's time to let the past go. I was being brought up in Africa. I have a lot of... I'm black. My skin is black. I have a lot of people who are in Africa who relate to me, who came from where I actually came from. You understand? I've been to places that they owned slaves before and stuff like that. I've heard about it. I know my history very well. So when I'm to tell you that my fellow black people sold my fellow black people to the whites, I'm not joking. I'm not lying. Any black person who is seeking for reparation ought to go, if you are seeking for reparation, you ought to go back to Africa, number one, and go and look for those people who sold you, your great fathers, to the white people. Because a lot of white people died. A lot of them died through malaria. Like, a lot of them. They died through malaria when they came to Africa. So, if they are to come, they already have, like, a business trade with black people already that gets me slaves, and I'll pay you. It was a business. If you have been to Ghana, I've been to Ghana before. I've been to Nigeria before. I've been to the East Coast in Ghana. I've been there. The slave trade aspect, like, they still have the structures there. I don't hate black people because I'm black. What I'm trying to make clear is that our own fellow black people sold us out. And we don't always have to put the blame on white people. We black also have our own faults. And the aspect that white people are feeling guilty every single time is what I hate. The white people who are living in America that are feeling guilty that their forefathers owned slave. It was not your fault. What happened during those times, it was a business trade that happened, and it was bad. It was a bad business trade because owning a human being as a slave is terrible. But that does not mean you in this generation now, you should be feeling guilty for that. You should stop. I'm just speaking to white people. If you're white, you should stop feeling guilty for whatever happened in history. You are not the cause. It was not your fault. You never owned slave. You were never part of the slave trade. The same I will speak to black people. You were never a slave. You never owned slave. You never experienced anything in slavery aspect. Because it happens to your great-great-great-grandfather doesn't mean it happened to you. In order for us to move forward with our life and leave the slave aspect behind us, we have to stop talking about the slavery. We have to stop seeing everything as race-based, race side. If you are white, they see you as a slave owner. If you are black, they see you as a slave. No, we can never move forward with such mentality. And I love how this student, I love how this guy came to college to ask college students about what they think. You notice that majority of them do not know anything about history. Majority of them. They are just following what they have been told, what people have talked about. Because everyone is always blaming British people and America for owning slave. But they tend not to blame themselves. Do you know that black people also own slave? They own slave. So they tend not to blame themselves. They always blame British people and America every single time. I keep on hearing this every single time. The British Empire, they started slavery. They are not the one who started slavery. They helped in ending it. This entire video is actually beautiful. Comment down below what you think about this video. Give also a thumbs up. Share this video to as many as you can, guys. Subscribe to the channel, guys. I will drop the original link of this video in the description below. And make sure you go check it out. We'll see you guys in the next video, guys. Make sure you stay safe.